Welcome to Sinners to Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons, where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on Patreon. The link is in the description. A huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. What you guys do for the channel is amazing. We love you guys so much. Thank you for all of your support. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister. Get 10% off dice bags, whatever ttrpg accessories you need. And you can keep using that promo code. So there's no reason for you to ever pay full price. Definitely check them out. And a big thank you to them. This week, we are doing a video on the Illusion Wizard, and it's going to be complemented by another video coming up next week, which I think you guys might enjoy. So without further ado, let's jump into the Illusion Wizard. The Illusion Wizard comes to us from the player's handbook. It is one of the original schools of wizardry. It is a very, very thematic school. This particular grouping of illusion has a lot of issues when you take away from things like disguise self and invisibility. It becomes more complex and more difficult to use. Make sure you're clear on how your DM interprets illusions, because it is very, very important to understand how they work and how to implement them. This is a subclass that, if you are creative, you can do world-breaking things. It is very, very powerful in the right circumstances, but you got to be a little tactful, a little creative, and be able to kind of think on your feet. There's a lot of great things in here, and we're definitely going to cover some great ideas with some of the things you can do, but definitely check out our previous video on why illusions suck and what some of the issues are, so that we can kind of prepare yourself for what is going to come up next. Improved Minor Illusion. When you choose this school at second level, you learn the Minor Illusion cantrip. If you already know this cantrip, you learn a different wizard cantrip of your choice. This cantrip does not count against your number of cantrips known. When you cast Minor Illusion, you can create both a sound and an image with a single casting of the spell. The great thing about Minor Illusion is you can use it very tactfully for infiltrating and getting around tight areas, especially if you see only one or two guards. Maybe you're in a city or you need to run away. You can Minor Illusion like just a portion of someone dipping around a corner and make the sound of them calling out to a guard, and make it a loud sound. And then boom, all their attention is drawn to that thing. And then it just vanishes. And now they have a reason to run over there. Maybe it moved too quick. Maybe something happened. Maybe it teleported. There's reasoning and plausible cause for any NPC to go off in that direction. You can use this in combat as well. Treantmonks puts out a great video about Minor Illusion specifically and what it can do. Definitely check that out. That link is going to be in the description. But that's going to basically sum up a lot of what you can do in combat. But the important thing is you can add an additional sound to it and very, very greatly augment what's happening. You can make the sound of footsteps and leave a trail on the floor leading outwards in a different direction. You can manipulate the ideas someone is having by giving them proof and reasons to investigate things incorrectly. You can use it as a way to taunt somebody. You can put a message up written out because there's a known wizard around and say in that message not to trust someone, or that they're in danger or something like that. And you can start to sway opinions and scenarios and give guards and other NPCs cause to believe that something is wrong or that they shouldn't trust someone. In a heavy role-playing scenario, if you can stay out of sight and cast this within range, you can make a lot of great things happen, and you can use this to warp perceptions that people have of other people. In a political intrigue campaign, this is dynamically important. If you're going to see regular people very, very often, and everything's going to take place in like one major city or one major area, you can use this greatly to your benefit. It requires a lot of practicing with Minor Illusion to get used to it. It requires a lot of discussion, though, with your DM about how to use it and its limits, because it is still a cantrip. But the fact that you can produce 2 different effects is very, very big. Malleable illusions. Starting at 6th level, when you cast an illusion spell that has a duration of a minute or longer, you can use your action to change the nature of that illusion spell, using the spell's parameters for the illusion, provided that you can see the illusion. This is a very, very cool ability. It does require 2 things. Again, an understanding with your DM how the spells are interpreted, and this one on a particular level. And 2, your creativity. You can minor illusion 2 individuals talking, and then one of them choking and then falling to the ground. As long as the people watching the image are not within that area where they can hear what's going on, you can make that appear that way. And then you can change the way the person appears that maybe killed the person or poisoned them. As far as I'm concerned, Silent Image will give you the availability to do that because it's a 15-foot cube. And you control that whole 15-foot cube, and you can make it look like it's moving. That's all just moving. It's not saying anything. It doesn't give off a sound or anything. So within the parameters, the way I see it, the way a lot of DMs I worked with, that works. Consider what you can do with that. You can frame someone. You can put an image of an innocent child in the middle of a battlefield and then cause it to rise up into a 15-foot behemoth, whatever you want it to be, some sort of devastating monster. And they now have to address that because they saw it change right before their eyes. They have to check that investigation. They have to go and interact with it in order to prove that it's an illusion, which means that's going to be action economy that they're wasting. In a heavy political intrigue campaign, you just frame the main character. You just change the whole concept of what's going on. Now people are chasing after enemies. Now you covered yourself. Say you accidentally were a murder hobo and killed the wrong person. Now you blame somebody else for it. The great thing about being able to change the illusions is it works on all illusion spells. Disguise, self. Walk a hallway and change personality, like your visage, every 6 steps. You can do that very, very easily. There's a lot of great concepts, and the limit here is your imagination and your creativity. You need to work hard with your DM to make sure how these things work on an individual spell level. It's very, very crucial. But being able to change it really causes an interesting scenario. Say you do have an image of a guard and he's waving someone over, and they're starting to come up, and then you make the guard like shake, like they're choking or like something's happening, and they drop to the ground. Now these other guards freak out and run up, and when they come close, you make this giant snake pop up and just look like it's going to attack them. That's going to scare them. That's going to frighten them. They're going to freak out. They might cause a huge commotion. They might turn and run in the opposite direction. They might call for help. These are things you can do. You can really toy with the minds of your enemies. The more you can spend time with other NPCs that you want to really get under their skin and change things around, or maybe you want to help them, or maybe you feel like you're going to be betrayed. Maybe you set yourself up to walk into a room. Now you can change what your actions are doing. You can make the room, you can make yourself look like you're walking in, make me like you're scared and timid. And then when they go to attack you, or they go to stand up to you, or they have this gotcha moment, you now look like someone else. And now that person has to divulge that the illusion is fake, which gives you plenty of time to do some sort of course of action. Buy yourself time to do something. I use a lot of impersonations and switching and drawing in for infiltrations and diverting enemies, but you can be more creative than I am because I'm working with a very limited intelligence here. But more creative you are, and the more you take the time to in-depthly look at these illusion spells, you can see there's a lot of things you have the availability to do when you're able to switch it on the fly like this. And that's the real power of the illusion wizard, is you can keep changing what you're doing. You can augment it so that way it's a stronger, more convincing thing. If another wizard sees someone casting minor illusion and it looks somewhat realistic, but it can produce a sound too, they don't know that you're an illusion wizard. They know it might be possible, but they also know it might just be real. And it gives you this great plausible deniability to what you're doing. It gives you this reason for your illusions to be a little bit more harder to interpret, because you can change them in ways that others can't. And you'd have to know specifically that you're that kind of a wizard in order to be able to do this. So unless you're dealing with wizards that know you personally, there's a little bit of learning that has to happen in game for them to uncover that and then decipher what you're doing, which gives you a little bit of an advantage, which means your party has an advantage. And working together, you can come up with some pretty interesting things. Illusory self. Beginning at 10th level, you can create an illusory duplicate of yourself as an instant, almost instinctual reaction to danger. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to interpose the illusory duplicate between the attacker and yourself. The attack automatically misses you, and the illusion dissipates. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. As a wizard, you have defensive options. You have shield, you have absorb elements. There's a couple of other things you can do as reactions. But understand, if you're going to get crit by a spell or by something that's going to do a huge amount of damage, shield isn't going to help you. Absorb elements might reduce some of the damage you're taking, yeah. But this is going to negate that whole attack. It's a very strong defensive ability. It's really just a get out of jail free card for something that's going to do massive damage to you. If you're low on HP and you're just going to get hit and shield won't help you, use it. If you're holding a very important spell and shield will not save you, use it. It's just a very strong defensive ability. It's easy. It's very applicable. It's widely usable. At 10th level, it's a pretty good circumstance where one hit can really crush whatever it is you're doing. Illusionary Reality. At 14th level, you have learned the secret of weaving shadow magic into your illusions to give them a semi-reality. When you cast an illusion spell of 1st level or higher, you can choose one inanimate, non-magical object that is part of the illusion and make that object real. You can do this on your turn as a bonus action while the spell is ongoing. The object remains real for a minute. For example, you can create an illusion of a bridge over a chasm and then make it real long enough for your allies to cross. The object can't deal damage or otherwise directly harm anyone. So this is a very, very great concept. Again, the more creative you are, the better this ability is. Now it says a non-magical object. Keep in mind, if anyone's using detect magic, they will detect the object as being magical because it is in an illusion as part of an illusion, and the illusion itself is magical. The object can't do anything magical is really what that means. You can't use that item to cast the spell because it doesn't work that way. But there's no reason why it shouldn't register as a magical item. You can fool very powerful people by showing up with the crest reward item that they desperately need and just wrap it up nicely, put it on their desk, which you made part of the illusion. It can be deceptive. It can also be horrific. And I do like horror. So, say you you meet someone you don't like. And you know this person has done horrible things. Maybe they've attacked innocent people. Well, now you can create Let's again use silent image because I like that it's a 15-foot cube. You make the image of the same exact place where they're standing. And you make a cage fall on top of them. Now, it doesn't hurt them, but it does encase them on top and on the sides, and then lands onto the ground. That cage is real. There's no save. It just happened. You can make that cage impossible to see out of because it could just be stone. Now that causes a real problem. It lasts for a minute. It doesn't have an AC, but it's tangible. It's real. You can't destroy it. Nothing says you can destroy it. So you'd have to use Dispel Magic in order to get rid of it. Now that really changes the dynamics of what's going on. Now you can use this offensively. It can be scary. It can be frightening. And if you can manipulate the image, because it's an illusion spell, and it still falls under malleable illusions, well, now that stone thing can now show the faces of the victims. Now that stone thing can be a reflection. It could just be that hall of mirrors again. And they can see themselves suffering. They can be forced into a scenario where they think their life has changed or that they entered the afterlife. You can do scary things with this. Now keep in mind, Silent Image is a first level spell. And at 14th level, you got spell slots to burn. You can change things. The only parameters is that it can't directly deal damage or harm anyone. Now, scaring someone doesn't hurt them. Mentally, it might leave them very unnerved and frightened, but ultimately no damage in D&D terms is done. Our final thoughts. The Illusion Wizard is a lot of real homework to do. If you like to sit there and grind out ideas of what to do with your character, definitely take a look at this subclass. You are required with this to know your illusion spells forwards, backwards, and upside down. And when you pick them up, you need to discuss with your DM on understanding and how these work. Very easily can you turn the tide of battle, can you augment entire scenarios with these spells. It is important that you take the time out to negotiate these things and let the DM know what you intend to do and what he interprets them to do, because you don't want to have a 20-minute rule discussion in the middle of something, because it breaks immersion and it becomes very, very difficult. This class, it breeds this necessity of being very clear and precise with your DM. A good DM is not going to see your plan and then just throw it completely out of the blue and be like, no, you're just not going to be able to do it. Or tell you it's okay and then just stomp it out. A DM is on your side. They want cool things to happen. And maybe they might tweak some things so this might be viable in some sort of circumstance so you can see it play out. Because maybe it's like a litmus test for what else is going to happen with this class. And then once that DM has a feel for how you do things and what that implication is, you're better off as a group cohesively, because now you guys can work on the same page. The School of Illusion Wizard is one of those subclasses that make people think the DM is on the opposition to the players. And it's not like that. It never was. It was never supposed to be. But because it's illusions, it becomes this dynamically more tense ideological debate and understanding for concepts and how the game works. So if you're willing to do that, and your DM is willing to do that, and you're most importantly going to look at these spells when you have downtime, when you're not actually playing the game, or days before, to read up and come up with ideas and to come up with concepts of how you want to do that, you can do anything with this class. On top of the fact that you're a wizard and you can do anything with wizards anyway, this gives you this great dynamic to finally be someone who can be a manipulator, who can move NPCs like chess pieces across the board. Like, you can greatly influence things in a non-fireball related circumstance, and give yourself some new tricks that are exciting, that are risky, that are just mind-blowing. And definitely do whatever it takes to pick up the subtle spell meta magic, because that is going to be a big blessing to you in this actual use of illusions, because you can drop it on the fly at least once, and that's really important. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you made it all this way, definitely hit that like, share, and subscribe. Definitely tell us about some of the illusion wizards you've played with, you've seen, or some of the great things people have done with illusions in general. We'd love to hear about it. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. Definitely check out that video by Treantmonks about minor illusions. That's also in the description. And check out our good friends at Dice Legion. Again, use that promo code SINISTER. It'll give you 10% off all of your purchases. And they have lots of great dice and ttrpg accessories, whatever you want. And you can keep using that code. So don't worry about it. Always use it. Let your friends use it. Whoever needs to buy stuff. Definitely going to be a big help to you. And when all's said and done, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.